I say this to you because you need to have a sense of urgency. I cannot stress this enough. You have to have a sense of urgency because 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now look completely different from what they do today. You have to make moves now. You have to be growing and scaling now, putting yourself in a position to sell at the right time. Trust me, I want you making money all along the way. I want you making more and more and more money because that also helps your business look much more attractive to prospective buyers. So not only do I want you making more and more money, but then we sell at a multiple. And that sale for a multiple, that's just the cherry on top. Hello everyone, it's Joel Davis with United Medical Transportation Providers Group. You are thebroker.com and Home Care Access. Well, here we are, January of 2025, and man, I'm excited. I think that things are going to be crazy in the short term, but I think we're going to be on a phenomenal ride. I tell people, bottom line, I made more money in those 4 years with the businessman in office than I did the previous 14 years. I say 14, maybe it was 13, maybe it was 15, whatever. 14, sounds good. But long story short, I made more money in a short period of time, and I anticipate we're going to do that again. Here is the difference. Here's the difference. And this is really one of the main reasons why I'm making this video. We are already off to a crazy start in 2025 in terms of some of the people that we're working with. A lot of acquisitions. All right, so we have a lot of movement. There's going to be a lot of buying and selling. We're already seeing it. We're already involved in it, doing a lot of valuations. So if you're interested in selling your business, reach out to us. Let us know because we are looking for some in key areas. If you're looking to buy business, let us know because we have some people that we don't have necessarily buyers in their area, but they got some good businesses. But here's where I was headed with this. We're in 2025. Let me ask you this. What does 2030 look like for you? What does the next 2 to 3 years look like? And then beyond, what does the next 5 years look like? And I say this not necessarily because it's something you personally are doing with your business. What does the next 3 to 5 to 10 years look like, regardless of industry, regardless of business that you're in? The reason I say that is, and I know that a lot of different people watch these videos. Younger people, middle-aged and seniors, okay? Man, as things progress, they're exponentially compounding. They're exponentially changing, scaling in many ways. What's the big thing right now? AI. AI is changing everything for everybody. There'll be things in 2 years from now, we'll look back. 2 years from now, 1 year technically, but 2 years from now, we'll look back at some of the things we're considering right now, the way we're doing things right now, and it's going to look archaic. Why do I mention this to you? Because realistically, you got to make the money, and you got to make it now, because realistically, your window is closing. Fact, your window is closing. If you don't make real moves now, you're going to be left far behind. It's just fact. And I don't care what business you're talking about or what business you're involved in, whether it's something that we're working with you on, whether it's non-emergency medical transportation, whether it's home care, whether it's your logistics business. It doesn't matter. What does our future look like 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Play it out. 2030. What does 2030 look like for us? What does 2035 look like for us? It's going to be a completely different world. A completely different world. I say this to you because you need to have a sense of urgency. I cannot stress this enough. You have to have a sense of urgency because 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now look completely different from what they do today. You have to make moves now. You have to be growing and scaling now, putting yourself in a position to sell at the right time. Trust me, I want you making money all along the way. I want you making more and more and more money, because that also helps your business look much more attractive to prospective buyers. So not only do I want you making more and more money, but then we sell at a multiple. And that sale for a multiple, that's just the cherry on top. Let me be very clear with what I'm saying. I want you making as much money as you can right now. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care what industry you're in. I want you making as much money as you can right now. Every single year, I want to grow and compound, grow and compound. All the while, if you're building your business properly, we're putting ourselves in a position to sell it for a future multiple. If you're going to live desperate now, and you think that your business is all of a sudden going to look so attractive to a prospective buyer, and then you're going to cash out with some windfall of cash because you're going to sell your business at a multiple. That's not the way this works. I'm going to say it again. You have to make moves now. Fact. You got to make moves now, because 2 years from now, where we are right now in 2025, look, it's going to look archaic. 2030 from now is going to look like we're on a different planet. Fact. If I'm lying, if I'm making this up, just take into consideration AI and all the changes all around you. Consider whatever industry you're in. If you haven't started an NEMT yet, if you haven't started a home care yet, if you're not in transportation, logistics, trust me, whatever industry you're in, how is AI affecting your business, and what does the future landscape look like? I submit to you, I don't care if you're 25 years old watching this right now, 35, 45, 55, 60, whatever age you are, we're down to a small window of opportunity where we have to make serious moves now to stack serious cash now, because at the end of the day, our landscape is changing exponentially at an even faster pace. So it's not the slow burn that it was many years ago. When I started my first business almost 25 years ago, it's a completely different landscape. It's not the slow burn anymore. It's exponential. You have got to make moves, and make moves now. And you need to do it with a sense of urgency, because times are changing, and it's not a slow burn. It's an exponential multiplication. So I need you to build your business the right way. Now, we work with a lot of people, but there's a lot of people we don't work with. And I'm just being honest with you. And again, I apologize, sorry, not sorry, when I'm just blatantly honest and telling many of you, just because you want to work with us doesn't mean that we're going to work with you. There's, period, just this past week, it's, there's a, I'm going to be very delicate here because I don't like to share people's info. Client provider, known her for years, met her in person, came to a seminar, worked with her. Over the years, she's let a lot of people, a lot of people into her ear. A lot of people are in her ear telling her to do different things. And the other day, I sent her an email and I explained to her. I said, listen, because she made the comment that I may have had some missteps, but over the years, I've really tried to always listen to you and follow your advice. No, you haven't. No, actually, no, you haven't. You've been listening to everybody but me, because how do I know this? Look at your fleet. Look at the equipment you use. Look at your daily operation of how it's structured. All of these things do not mirror the type of things that I teach. The result is your operational organization, the type of money you're earning and going after, your margins don't even come close to reflecting anything that I preach or teach. And ironically enough, there's other people not too far from her who I do work with, only a few hours away, who I work with perpetually, and it's like comparing two completely different businesses. It couldn't be more polar opposite. So, how much can I help you? I don't know. I'm not sure, because look, here's what I don't want to have happen. Here's what I don't want to have happen. I don't want you, or let me say this. Let me put you like this. Here's what cannot happen. You can't contact us and say, okay, here I am. I'm here to sell my business. I need you to help me sell the business. And this is one thing that she said. Okay, oh man, this is so, I have to be delicate. She has a prospective buyer. Now, we didn't help bring this prospective buyer. She actually has this prospective buyer who came to her because he wants part of her business. I encouraged her to have a conversation with him just to make sure that the two of them were on the same planet price-wise. And he made her somewhat of a very loose offer. And then the next day, she just tells me, well, after much prayer and thought and consulting with my family, I decided we're going to accept this offer. And the offer, price-wise, it wasn't too bad. The terms were just unbelievable. As in, I won't tell anybody because it's just too unbelievable. It's such a slap in the face and it's so embarrassing. Now, so this is why we have to be very careful of who we work with, because we invest a great deal of time. Okay, so when someone says, hey, can you help me sell my business? Well, that depends what your business looks like. That's why initially we're going to send you some initial questions. Now, look, if we send you these questions and you don't answer them, okay, that's a red flag. We're not going to work with you. If you can't even share some basic info with us that we need to use to learn and to gauge and to discern if you meet our metrics, if you're even in the position that we could work with you. If you're not even going to answer those questions, then clearly we're not going to work with you, and you're not a serious seller. We got to be honest. But if you do have a decent structure with your business, and I think you're in the position to sell, then by all means, I welcome the opportunity to work with you. Now, if you're not in the position to sell, then we have to ask ourselves, are you prepared to do what it takes to put yourself in the position to sell? It may be just some simple adjustments, or it could be some serious heavy lifting. Now, the girl I just talked about, the prospective, this client provider, again, I love her. She's one of the nicest human beings possible, heart of gold, painfully generous. In fact, she's such a nice person. This is part of the problem. She's such a nice person that everybody keeps giving her advice. Now, do I know everybody who gives her advice? I don't know, but I know there's a ton, because the reason I know that is because your business reflects nothing of what I preach and teach. Fact. And then if I compared you to someone a few miles away, totally different picture. Totally different picture. You could hold the two businesses up and you could say, yep, Joel Davis is working with this guy. No, he's not working with her. Clearly. Your vehicle is a reflection of your overall, your fleet size. I'm sorry, not vehicle, your fleet. Your fleet, your daily operation, the way you structure your HR, the type of equipment you're using, they all tell a great story. They tell a great story. And likewise, if you're a prospective buyer, look, here's the deal, and a lot of times a seller, a lot of people are offended. I'll put this one on here. A lot of people, wait a minute. I gotta pay, because everyone thinks that we work for free. Everyone just like everybody thinks that you're gonna work for free, that you offer free transportation. Everyone, same thing, right? You got to be selective because of time, but if people, number one, if they're not paying, then no one works for free. But they're not serious. And that's how you find yourself in a situation where you could be investing a great deal of time and effort into helping someone, working with them. All of a sudden, little do you know, they started listening to somebody else. And now all of a sudden you are on this trajectory to move the ball forward. But because all of a sudden they started listening to someone else, they left turn. Nobody has time for that. That's why, like I tell people, listen, it's one thing to, read a lot of books, consider a lot of things, pour into yourself. I'm all for it. But if someone is working with you, especially if you're paying them, work with one mentor at a time, bottom line. Bottom line, work with one mentor at a time. No one wants to waste their time, bottom line. So if you wanted to sell your business, you need to first be in the position to sell. You don't just wake up and say, I think I'm going to sell today. Because you may not have something to sell. That's the thing. You may not have something to sell. Or at least not something that someone who's serious really wants to buy. So when we're working with buyers and sellers, you know, when from someone, because we get contacted by a lot of people, they want to expand their operation. Maybe they're working in a specific location, they want to expand to a different market or a different state. We got people who work in different states for sure. But we got to vet them. We got to make sure, hey, you got the cash? Are you serious? Like, what's your existing operation look like? And it's not just how much money you got. It's also, what does your existing methodology and overall operation, what's your structure, what's that look like? Because if you're going to go purchase a business that's located way over here, okay, are we going to have to reinvent the wheel? Are you going to try to merge the two together? Are you going to blend them together? Are they going to be standalone? That could get ugly quickly depending on personnel and how you run different things. Are you going to try to blend your overall internal organization together to reduce costs, increase metrics and revenue? That's phenomenal if we can. But these are all considerations. So if you're looking to expand your operation, well, we got to make sure you're legit. We got to make sure we're going to vet you to make sure that you got money and you're serious. You're a serious buyer, because we're not going to waste anyone's time. We can't afford to do that. But again, I want to stress this to you as a seller. Nobody wants to buy a job. I've mentioned this in previous videos and I can't stress this enough. Nobody wants to buy a job. They want to buy an asset, especially if they're out of state or if they're out of area. Now, it's one thing if you say, okay, I want to buy a distressed business, but think that thing through. Do you want to sell your business as a distressed business? I want to sell, Joel, I want to sell my business. If things aren't looking too good, this is a distressed business. There's a lot of things that need to change, which will require a lot of heavy lifting. So if we sell your business in the current state, I would tell you this is a rather distressed business. And if it's a distressed business, you're probably not going to get what you want. The price is going to probably be substantially lower. And here's the thing. Especially if we bring the buyer to you. If I bring a buyer to you, the last thing I'm going to do is sucker my buyer. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Why? Because 99% of the time, I'm going to work with this buyer long term. Not only through the transition process, but a lot of times beyond, because we have multiple buyers that we've helped them get multiple businesses. You want to scale? Rinse and repeat. Duplicate, rinse, repeat. Duplicate, rinse, repeat. So, the last thing, this is critical. You as a seller, if you think that I'm going to lie to a prospective buyer and try to put lipstick on a pig, it's still a flipping pig. And if you think that I'm going to sell that pig to that buyer, especially if I know, now if I bring the buyer, there's no way it's going to happen, because I'm going to end up working with that buyer long term. Just like I have a relationship with you, I'll have a relationship with them. So I'm not going to sabotage that. If you got a pig, you can put all lipstick on you want, but it's still a pig. Now we don't want a pig, we want an asset. Again, we want to make as much money all throughout the life of your business as we can. And again, it's an uptick. Clearly it's an uptick. I mean, where you are in year 1 is not going to be where year 3 and year 5 and beyond, right? It's common sense. So we want to build that business to be an asset, because nobody wants to buy a job. Sorry. No serious investor who has real cash, has access to real money, is going to come in and buy a job. It's not going to happen. Boom. Boom. Joel, you're an a-hole. You're being too honest. You're being too blunt. I don't like to be talked to like this. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? The clock is ticking. Now listen. I know my tone may not be fluffy like all the yahoos online selling, peddling all the nonsense. I got all that. My tone isn't up. I'm not, uplifting. Joel, I need to be soothed and coddled. Sorry, man. That's not my gig. Not my gig. But I need you to be honest with yourself. What does your business look like right now? And if you can honestly say, okay, you know what? He might be right. 5 years from now, 2030, man, the amount of change between now and then is going to be mind-boggling. If you agree with that, then you better move, and you better move now. Fact. You got to grow and you got to scale. Now, let me be very clear when I say this. When I say, listen, this is so important. In fact, this is probably one of the most important things I tell you in this video. Growing and scaling may not necessarily be the same thing. Here's what I mean. I could show you a fleet of 80 vehicles right now. 80 as in 80. I could show you a business right now with 80 vehicles. And that business owner makes, as in personally profits, takes home all the fringe benefits, all the SDE, all that kind of good stuff. He makes the same amount of money at the end of the day as someone with 6, 7, and 8 vehicles. I'm telling you for an absolute fact, I can show you that. Why is that important? Because that person with 80 vehicles, did he scale? No. Didn't scale. He grew. No one can argue that. You grew. You grew in size. Started small and you kept growing. How did you grow? All you did was add more vehicles, personnel, and headaches. Think this through. Growing and scaling are not the same. If I start with 1 vehicle, 5 vehicles, you pick the number, and I go to 80 vehicles, did I grow? Absolutely. No one can ever possibly argue that you didn't grow. Added vehicles, added office size, added human resources, personnel, office staff, drivers, part-time, full-time, added infrastructure, added accounts. But at the end of the day, the amount of money that you make is equal to someone who is 1/10 your size. Now you tell me, who is scaling better? Scaling is about duplicating your process with, at the same time, disproportionately increasing your earnings. Think about that. So we'll pick on the guy who has 80 vehicles, because he does. I think it's 82. But let's, for easy math, let's say he has 80. We have client providers with 8 vehicles making the same amount of money. Now, they're not bringing the same amount of revenue, but they're making the same amount of money. You tell me who's scaling properly. Obvious answer. It's obvious. The guy with 80 plus in his fleet just kept adding. Now, what do we think the cause is? We could argue lack of business acumen. Huge. I absolutely agree. We could argue that is the root problem. I agree. I've got it. We could write a doctoral dissertation just on that. We could argue naivete. That's a component of the lack of business acumen. What does the business look like? You know where I'm going with this. It's 99% broker. No, seriously. Now, you know, if any of you watching my videos, you know, hey, I'll be the first one to bash brokers, got it. Well, at the same time, I love brokers because I love bashing them. They're food for fodder and fun, and man, I love battling them every day. But again, it's an alligator. You can't expect an alligator to act like a zebra. It's never going to happen. You think it's going to be your pet, and you could pet it and feed it, and no, you're a fool if you do. You're going to get bit. So can you blame the broker? No. So the guy with an 80 plus vehicle fleet, is it the broker's fault? No. They keep giving him trips. He keeps taking them. But is he scaling? No. All he's doing is adding. And so then, when I tell you I can't touch your business, I'm not going to touch this business. Because I'm not going to bring a buyer who I'm going to work with long term. I'm not going to lie to him. I'm not going to sell him a lemon. I'm not gonna, a defunct vehicle, proverbially and literally speaking. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna sell them a lemon because I'm gonna work with them long term. Now, we could bust balls and complain about the brokers all we want, but again, let's go back to the root cause. Lack of business acumen, astute business acumen. Bottom line, you kept adding, but you weren't scaling. Big difference. Kept adding more vehicles, but you weren't scaling the business. We want to be able to duplicate, and as we duplicate and add more vehicles, we want to make it more profitable. We need the business to be more profitable. Otherwise, why would I keep adding more vehicles? There's people who just keep enslaving themselves more and more to these brokers. Can you blame the brokers? No. And what do we know? What have we talked about ad nauseum? Brokers are popping up on every flipping street corner because what? They're all tech-based. They're all tech-based. And if you think it's going away, if you think it's going to get easier, what did we open up this video with talking about? How things are going to change, consider AI. I cannot stress this to you enough. Your next 2-5 years are going to shape your entire future. Fact. You got to make moves, and you got to make them now. I'll kind of dovetail into kind of a different topic, but kind of not. You need to scale your business. I didn't say add. You need to scale your business. Well, at the same time, scaling you. In previous videos and in newsletters and things, I've talked about it. Your business is a frontline business, okay? We need to make your business an asset. Your business needs to become an asset. What does it mean to be an asset? Appreciates with value. Now, how can your business, Joel, you say to me, how does it appreciate with value when my vehicles continue to depreciate? Your vehicle is a means to an end. The business itself is your asset. We want to build that asset. Now, are the vehicles within that business, are they going to continue to depreciate? Of course they are. It's a means to an end. Who cares about it? That's why when I hear people, oh, I love this vehicle. Dude, that's emotional gobbledygook nonsense. Curb that crap. Curb that crap. No one cares. This isn't your 57 Chevy. No one cares. Curb it. It's a means to an end. Your business is an asset that we want to continue to make more and more money each year. And then the cherry on top is not only do we accumulate that money, but then we sell the business for a future multiple. That's the cherry on top. Now, all along the way, as we're making more and more money, get the money out of the frontline business. Get the money out. Your frontline business, whether it's home care, NEMT, your logistics business, that's on the front line. That is exposed. That's where you're cultivating revenue, and it's exposed to higher risk. We need to get that money out of there. So that's why it's critical. Watch this. It's critical that we continue to make more and more money every single year, so we then get the money out, and then we go hide and protect that money. And watch this. We scale that money. Notice how I say over the 4 years when the businessman was first in office, I made more money in those 4 years than I did the previous 14. And guess what? For most of those years, I didn't own my NEMT business. It's long since been sold. How did I make so much more? Because the money, I already made my money, and then I invested that money, and you bank it. This is why I love home care. This is why I love NEMT. This is why I love my broker and logistics business, because it's the cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. Now listen, I know for a fact, and I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this one. I know real estate is awesome. I got that. Some of you watching this, you love real estate. Got it. I get it. There's 1,000,001 ways to make money with real estate. I got that. I get all that. No one needs to convince me about it. I see the value in it. I just never got bit by the real estate bug or passion. I used to own a ton of rental properties back in the day. Honestly, it's almost like if you're going to do the rental property gig, you got to go so big so it's a non-issue for you, so everything is outsourced. Or if you're below that threshold, it's gonna drain your resources financially. It's gonna drain your time. I don't have time for it. But now, am I in the position where I can go big or go home? Yeah, but I just don't have the passion for it. And there's so many other ways to make money. But here's what I love about having your own business, whether it's NEMT, home care, your logistics business. It's the cash flow. Cash flow is king. How many people in real estate end up tying up their money for too long? And there's so many creative things you can do with real estate. Again, I love it. I love it. I understand it. I get it. I see why people do it. I see how it appreciates. No one needs to convince me of it. So before you send me your emails and your messages and try to bash me, I'm on your side. I get it. But sometimes, most of the time, your cash is tied up. Whereas I want a frontline business right now that has cash flow. Because from that, we push it through our system. We move it to safer ground. Now we make that thing multiply. That's when things go crazy. All right, man. I'll tell you what. I could go off. I could write doctoral dissertations on some of this. I'm sure I've already upset a few people here. But again, I'm not here to be everyone's friend or just carry good tidings to everybody. It's just, it is what it is. Again, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, there was a lot, but if there's one thing, it's gather a sense of urgency and move, act, and produce now. Gather a sense of urgency and do anything you have to do to start to scale your business. I didn't say add, I said scale. You got to move and produce now. When you do, I'll see you at the top.